Welcome everyone to the channel. Welcome back. This is a very special video that I can't wait to show you guys. It is an interview that I had a few days ago with a Maddie Jones, who is also known as MJ, and it's incredibly special. It is very unique for a very unique person, and it's exciting, it's special, and it might just shock you what we talk about. It was very fun for me to do this interview. We had lots of laughs, and if you're watching Maddie, I hope you enjoy. I have another MJ with us today. She's going to be doing an interview. I'm going to be interviewing her. And this is what makes it even more special because her name is also MJ. But it's awesome because this is MJ and I'm MJ and we're going to get this going. It's going to be fun.
Party.
MJ Party. And she's very fun, very amazing already. I'm loving this conversation already. We were backstage for a bit and talking a little bit. And I'm actually going to get this going. And I want to start off with MJ. This is a little weird. So how did you hear about my channel? Let's start off with that.
I just kind of came across it. I follow various other ExJW channels,
Hmm.
and I just kind of came across yours and a video. I think someone might have shared one of your videos in
Ooh,
one of the ExJW Facebook groups that I'm in, and
okay.
so maybe it was through there. It was something like that. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Wow. So we got some nosy people in the
yeah.
XJW community. It's a good thing. Awesome. So you were telling me a little bit that you dabbled in the JW organization. I
Mhm.
don't know whether to say that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing. Um, so tell me a little bit about that. You were telling me in your teenage years is when you like discovered the witnesses, right?
Yeah, I met so I got into the whole JW thing through my ex-husband, my first ex-husband,
Hmm.
um, my daughter's dad. So I met him through a previous ex-boyfriend. He was kind of friends with their group of friends and they were worldly. So he was kind of a
Worldly.
fringy, yeah, he was a fringy JW and he wasn't baptized, but he was a born in.
Okay.
And so he kind of brought me into the whole thing, and that's how I got ushered into JW land.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it happens to all, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So, and so you are married and that how many kids do you have or you're
So
expecting?
I am expecting. I have one daughter with that ex-husband I just mentioned. She'll be 15 in May.
Okay.
I had her when I was 21. She was born. So
Awesome.
I'm 36 now, and I wanted to have more kids, but never really got the opportunity to until now. I've got a really good guy now, really good.
Hmm.
He's amazing. I could not ask for better. He
That's awesome.
practically worships me. I'm
That's
like,
great.
stop.
You're still a teenager then. That's
Right,
awesome.
right.
They say that there's that honeymoon stage, so that still carries on, I guess, right?
Yeah, with this one, we were friends for a few years before we got together, and it was just like the friendship was amazing, and
Hmm.
and it's just been amazing ever since. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Now, when you were a witness, what were some of the good things you experienced being in there, if there were any?
There were some good people that I knew then. That there I'll say this, there were a lot of fake people, a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of, all of that, and that's one of the few things that woke me up. But
Okay.
but there were some legitimately good people with good hearts, and I still have an affinity for them
Hmm.
today. And I wish I could still continue those friendships and relationships, but I know they would allow the JW to get in the
Right.
way of that. And so I've kept friends with them on Facebook, but I have them restricted because I don't want to give them a reason to completely cut me off. So
Okay. Understandable.
yeah.
I did not do that. I basically exposed myself on social media basically everywhere. So everyone
Yeah.
has ghosted me. Everyone is ignoring me.
There's a lot of people I did cut off and blocked and got rid of and all that. But I do have one friend. I do have one friend that's Pimi. She is very smart. I really hope she wakes up someday. She is actually really smart. I know she's a JW and that sounds like it's not saying much,
Hmm.
um, but she really is actually very smart. She has critical thinking skills, and so I'm hoping one day she can use those
Yeah.
to figure things out. But she and I talk actually every day, and she
Oh wow.
knows. Yeah, she knows my life now. I opened up to her just recently. I
Wow.
didn't feel like I was able to for a long time, but I did recently, and she's actually really happy for me and really excited about the baby. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That must be an amazing feeling. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
stuffy.
Oh, that's okay.
I feel like my words are coming together. So that is awesome. That's great. And that doesn't happen very often.
No, it
Uh,
doesn't. She's a unicorn in, in JW land. She really is.
yes.
She also doesn't like people in general. Like she's
Mm,
very introverted. But she's been like my sister from another mister when, in JW and now even out and she does say once in a blue moon she hopes I come back, but she also doesn't push it with me with talking about religion or
okay.
anything like that because she knows my background
Hmm.
and how much religious trauma I've been through and how much it's been used against me for abuse. So she knows not to really go there. And
That's good. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
it's a mutual respect. I also don't
right.
bring it up. So
That's
as
wow.
much as I want to wake her up, I don't.
It becomes like, especially with someone like that who's very understanding,
Hmm.
and we don't get a lot of people like that. So kudos
Yeah.
to her for actually allowing herself to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find people that like that, and you want people like that, and you expect people to listen, but see, I had a best friend that was a PME, and he's just like that. He's very
Hmm.
critical, thinks very critically. I never even thought he was gonna get baptized because of how critical he is, and he ended up getting baptized. We don't talk. Not saying that that's gonna happen, but like
Yeah.
it can happen because that's expected.
Right.
So that's why I say and I emphasize how amazing she is because you don't get
Yeah.
that a lot.
Well, it also helps I'm only faded. I'm not
Okay, okay,
disfellowshipped or anything. So, I mean, that helps.
okay.
Yeah.
Makes a little more sense. But other than that, I mean, at least she's not pushing you, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you hear the baby?
I do, but it's okay. I've got mom ears. I can tune them
And
out.
you're expecting how far
Yeah.
along are you?
I'm 11 weeks.
11 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say the nausea and all that, but I mean,
Oh, no, it's okay. I did have that. It's actually gone down a lot as far as
mm.
that goes. But as the nausea went down, the fatigue has gone up. And so,
So, so let's get into the organization. And you said that there were some people that allowed you to like critically think and wake you up a bit. Is there anything doctrinal wise that made you want to leave? That made you overthink?
um, doctrinally, there was things that just didn't make sense to me that I just didn't really like understand, and so I just didn't really try to go there because I didn't understand it.
Hmm.
What they were saying, I was like, well, I guess they must know what they're talking about, but I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But I just didn't really talk about it or say anything.
Hmm.
Most of that was the overlapping generation kind of stuff.
Which was, yeah, bad.
Yeah, and and it still doesn't make sense.
No.
I'm still like,
A lot of people woke up from that.
what? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So there was that um doctrinally. Oh, there were things like with the like spousal abuse, because I
Hmm.
did go through that, and they didn't put enough care or emphasis or seriousness into like taking it seriously
Right.
enough.
Hmm.
And so it's like they didn't really care that these things that happened to me.
Hmm.
And so that really kind of like spoke to me about, well, like, this is wrong, this is absolutely not okay, why are you not doing something about it?
Right. Right.
To not helping me, not doing something.
And you're
Yeah.
not being the spiritual wife to rat on him and you basically you trying to protect yourself and taking the steps to protect yourself and seeking
Mhm.
them for help. They're not doing their part.
I
And
saw a lot of spinelessness, a lot of
oh
the
yeah.
flimsy, like, limp noodle kind of behavior, just like wishy-washy, just, I don't know, it was awful.
They're not there until you do something that
Mm-mm.
you're in trouble with and they're like on top of you.
Yep, yep.
And so there was a lot of trauma that came from that, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
you want to I don't want to, push you into that direction or relive that, but you faced challenges with that. Any other challenges that you did face in the organization?
Um, it was really hard to be around all of the fakery. Oh my God.
Hmm.
The amount of like fake smiles and fake vibes and just everything just so veneer, and nothing of substance, nothing real, and no depth.
Hmm.
And it just, and I'm a depth person. I dive deep.
Yeah.
So like being around all of this very surface level kind of stuff, it just, after a while, it just didn't sit right, and it felt weird.
Did you
And
did Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just saying, it just felt really weird
What
to be around.
was there anybody that you spoke to about these concerns? Anybody like say your family, your parents?
Maybe that friend that I had mentioned, that the critical thinking PME friend, but
Hmm.
even then, not really, because I, I don't know. It's like it's kind of a hard thing to talk about with just anybody, and even with
Hmm.
her, and it was like I felt all these things, but it was also kind of towards my waking up process that I was really feeling these things and really feeling uncomfortable. And as I was feeling these more and more, my anxiety was going up, my depression was going up. It was getting worse,
Hmm.
um, until I was able to get out.
Right.
So,
Um. Now speaking about your parents, want to tell us a little bit about that? How do they view you?
my parents, huh? So, my parents are not JW. I did
Okay.
not grow up JW. Um, I didn't really get involved with JW until I was like 19,
Hmm.
because of that
Right.
ex.
Right.
But my mother, she was religiously abusive, though, nonetheless.
Wow.
She, yeah, she has undiagnosed mental issues, that my siblings and I have kind of looked into things, and it really sounds a lot like schizophrenia, because there's a lot of like hallucination kind of stuff going on. It's gotten worse as she's gotten older, a lot more pronounced. But back then growing up, it was harder to spot. Um, but so like outside people didn't really see anything.
Hmm.
Um, but my parents divorced before I was born. So they
Okay.
found out that they were pregnant with me while they were divorcing. And my husband actually pointed this out to me a few months ago, that that may have played into how my family treats me, and that I am kind of like a burden, or like somebody to just kind of be put up with. Um,
Hmm.
because I was an accidental pregnancy in the middle of a divorce. So,
Wow.
yeah, not
You
fun.
okay. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
And okay,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
So my mother, though, she's also got a lot of hallmarks of narcissism too. So narcissism and like schizophrenia, like
Wow.
you can imagine. Yeah. And then she married my stepdad when I was 6, and
Okay.
he is very tall and broad, and he was almost drafted to be on the Dodgers baseball team.
Wow.
But he had a broken arm injury. He wasn't able to get on. But he was very um, verbally abusive and yelled a lot. He yelled a lot at us growing up, to the point where it was like we could see veins popping out.
Oh
It
man.
like we like we laugh about it now, and it was a little scary at the time, but
Of
we look
course.
back and laugh. But yeah, very very big, scary, tall guy that
Oh man.
yeah,
Slender man.
yelling at us. Yeah. And then my dad was a long haul truck driver, and he's very he's boomer.
Hmm.
And you're like, yeah, I know the feel.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
he's very boomer. He's not as fanatical with politics as my mom is with religion, but he is very much like into politics. So it's like I get the religion stuff with mom, and then the political stuff with dad. And so it's like,
Okay.
yeah,
And when you
one
mean
of
by that,
the
like you mean like they attack you with that stuff? They
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 just
hound you on
have
it?
very my mom did with religion. My dad would just very very strong opinions with his political stuff, and and other stuff too. He's misogynistic too, so he has very strong views towards women that are not
Hmm.
good.
Okay.
And so there's that too. And that doesn't sit very well with me, and I know that doesn't sit very well with my sister either.
Wow.
But
So you can say
yeah.
that. I can you say that it was a pretty messed up childhood, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah? Okay. And you mentioned a sibling. Is your only sibling?
So I have an older sister and I have an older brother, and then my mom and my stepdad had my little sister when I was 14. So she's like much younger than me. But they had her together, and so those are my siblings.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now, wow. So, in what sense was your mom like religiously like on your case? Like,
Well, I remember her reading us stories all the time, and I remember her just she would turn every conversation into something about Jesus or God or Bible, this and that. I remember having nightmares when I was a toddler. I remember having nightmares about fallen angels.
hmm.
As a toddler, I remember these dreams vividly now, even to this day. I remember um, how scary these dreams were. I had a lot of nightmares. It didn't help we lived across the street from a cemetery either. That did not help.
Just sitting
But
there waiting for something to come out from the cemetery.
right. And our childhood bedroom window literally looked out to the
Oh
cemetery
man,
too. Yeah. So
that
but
sucks.
yeah. But yeah, I remember having nightmares like that as a toddler, and even as when we were older and we moved to a different house in a different town, um I still had nightmares about like Armageddon. My mom would, talk to us things about like Armageddon. And I remember her saying that God would never kill babies and children because they're innocent. So, I mean, points for that at least compared to JW.
Yeah, how do you transition to from your mom? Okay, so your mom to you is crazy, and then you go to an organization where they teach you crazy, and then you just automatically assume actually they're right. My mom
Yeah.
really is crazy, but your
Well,
mom was thinking that
she,
God is good.
yeah. Well, she had her own crazy views, but the downside with that, with her teaching us that God doesn't kill babies and children, was that I grew up feeling like terrified to grow up. I was terrified to become an adult
Hmm.
because I didn't want to die at Armageddon, and do the wrong thing, die at Armageddon. And so I was terrified to grow up because of that.
Mm,
And so even in that positive light, oh, she views, that babies and children will be saved by God. It's still not good. It's still
right.
scary as a kid.
What was her religious background?
She considered herself to be a born again Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And then what was her what were her thoughts when you became a witness? That's where it just dun dun
she
dun.
hated witnesses. She hated witnesses. And,
Jezebel.
I yeah, I understand why she hated witnesses, but she went about it the completely wrong way, with trying to educate me on witnesses. She just went berserk. She didn't even try to educate me. I shouldn't even be saying that. She didn't even try to educate me. She just went berserk. And and I knew she would because I've always heard her talk badly about JWs. And so that didn't go well.
Yeah, expected.
She
Okay.
actually, to my first wedding, she it was to the point where she purposely planned a trip to Disneyland with my little sister to skip it, to skip my first wedding.
Really? Wow.
So, so her, my stepdad, and my little sister, they did not go to my first wedding because, yeah, JW
It was related with
bullshit.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then she wanted to go to Disneyland instead. Thanks, mom.
Narcissism at its best.
Right, right.
Not even attending your daughter's. Wow. Okay.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no. And that
Wow.
that was that did not go over well with the rest of my family. And let me make it clear, nobody in my family was JW. Nobody. It was just me, when I was in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You and your ex-husband at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And did your mom fill your family's heads with just BS about you being a JW? Did
Oh,
that did your
she
relationship with them affect
it didn't affect my relationship with them. Other things did because my family's really toxic, but um, but as far as her shenanigans went, it didn't. They all thought she was wrong, and that was, really wrong of her to do, and everything she was saying was kind of taken as just gobbledygook because
hmm
it was she just that's how she comes across because of her mental illnesses and the narcissism. It just comes out as just like this religious babbling. And I can't even stress she how much she had an effect with her mental illness and the religion, because she once performed an exorcism on my sister.
I was expecting like something's if she's this crazy, that means there's got to be more.
Yeah, no, dude, if you've seen the movie Carrie,
No, I haven't actually.
Carrie's mom,
Okay.
that's like my mom, but with less candles.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's like
Oh
my
man,
mom.
I'm gonna have to watch that
You're gonna
now.
have to watch it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've been on like this scary movie streak. Like I've been
Oh,
watching
it's a good movie. It's really good. I
r-
liked it.
right now. I'm in the the Insidious like saga.
Okay,
I've watched
cool.
like Annabelle, The Nun, and all these other movies like the what's that called? Like all the rest of the Insidious movies. And I've been falling in love with them, and that's because all my life as a witness, we can't watch scary movies.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just, and my wife, she's freaked. She gets freaked out all the time. But I'm just sitting there like enjoying this. Like I don't get scared at all. Like it's, and the thing is, ever since I left the organization, I don't get scared. Because when
Right.
I was in there, I was freaking out. Every time a commercial would come out or change the channel, like I was freaking out. Now I'm just like,
Like,
okay, cool.
is it gonna bring demons in? Yeah. I know
I
my mom was like that too, like with the demon stuff. She didn't want us watching Care Bears. So for JWs, it was Smurfs. My mom,
uh-huh.
it was Care Bears.
Oh my god.
Like, I know. Yeah.
Oh man.
Care
Wow.
Bears. Care Bears.
So so let's get back to the exorcism thing. So what exactly happened there?
So my sister said she woke up one morning to my mom doing like this chanting, and she was like just laying in bed, like she was like snickering, trying not to laugh,
What the
and she's
heck?
hearing my mom like trying to cast thee out demons, kind of stuff. And so my sister's just laying there
The
listening to
power of
this.
Christ compels you.
Yeah, listening to this stuff. And my mom was doing it because my sister was getting into, you know, trouble. She was smoking, running
Oh, it
away,
makes sense
having
now.
sex.
She's trying to help her.
She was like 14, doing all that stuff. And, obviously not okay at that age, but,
Hmm.
you know, you don't handle it with exorcisms. But yeah,
She thought
so
she had a demon in her. That's okay. I mean, she cared
well,
for her. She cared for her.
yeah, and even still in more recent years, because my siblings and I are really pretty much no contact with mom. I've been completely no contact since 2014, and my brother is like really minimal contact now. But my sister, I think, so I'm no contact with my sister. That's a whole nother thing, toxic. But last I knew, she was completely no contact with mom as well. Um, but she was still calling my sister an evil whore, and
Mm.
um and yeah, just horrible things like that. And for my mom, she told my little sister I'm just stupid. So,
Wow.
and my brother's an ungrateful ass. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my mother.
That's Mama Bear right there.
Mhm. I could
Eh,
never do any of this stuff to my kid. Like,
no, I
I make
mean,
sure, you know, like, I will never be anything like that.
and that's what usually happens. You live a bad childhood, so you want to do the opposite,
Yep, yep,
And you went through that experience. You don't want your kids to go through that experience.
yeah.
When you became a witness, did you feel like you were escaping from all of that?
I did in a way. I honestly, my whole life, I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I didn't feel like I belonged in my family. I didn't feel like I belonged, like, I had some friends growing up, but I couldn't be my whole self. And so there was parts of me I didn't feel like belonged even then. And so I was like, I went everywhere, not feeling like I belonged anywhere. And
Hmm.
I just was trying to find where I do belong. And and I
Makes
think
sense.
that kind of like got me in with JW. They take advantage of
Your weakest
um yeah,
moments.
emotionally vulnerable, young age, multiple trauma history in
Hmm.
childhood, and that definitely was something for people to take advantage of. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Opens
yeah,
your eyes. Like, oh, I can have this. Okay.
yeah.
And especially with the whole seeing your
Love
love.
bombing too.
Yeah, the love bombing was just insane.
That was insane. Yeah.
And very, but it's very conditional, and
Yep.
it's crazy. But I get it. And because you didn't have that love from your family, from your parents, and you just felt like, man, like I'm getting all the love I'm getting now. Like this is awesome, right? Is that what you were feeling? Like,
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did feel that way. I did initially feel very loved and accepted valued, but I but then I also had to change myself, and I didn't even really fully have an identity of who I was, or a sense of self. So it was kind of like I sort of had like an idea of who I was, but it was vague,
Hmm.
and they were able to kind of like take that and morph it into what they want. And so I went from one controlling person, my mother,
Hmm.
to another, my ex,
Your ex-husband, yeah.
and a cult. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and as a woman, it's extremely difficult to like
Yeah.
get by and then be your own self. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
How were you spiritually? Were you like goody goody, average, or I'm just getting by?
Oh, I was always considered skirts, out on the skirts, outer edge. They never accepted me enough, because I came from the world. They never
So that's so ridiculous.
they never accepted me enough to really want to build me up or do anything. I also had like I also had a lot of un, untreated anxiety and depression at play in there too. I had not had any sort of therapy, which I desperately needed,
Hmm.
but I just didn't have any of that. And so there's just a lot of there's a
Did they
lot of
know
build at play.
that? Did they know
They
like you were going through all
I
these
think
things?
they picked up because I did tell people, some of the things that I've been through. And then, with the gossip mill, things get around. And
Yeah, oh
so
yeah.
people gossiped about like my background and stuff. And so people kind of already knew some of the things that I'd dealt with and been through. And at first, for a while there, it was looked at as, oh, that's so commendable. That's so like um, brave of you and blah, blah, blah. But then after a while, a number of years, it just started being looked at differently, or that I started being looked at differently.
Hmm.
People didn't really care about me so much. And yeah.
I feel that. I mean, like I said earlier, it's sorry, I was telling my wife that I could hear the baby in the TV and stuff.
That's okay.
um I was saying earlier, like that's when you need them the most, they're not there. When you're in trouble
Yep.
though, they're on
Hmm.
top of
Oh, they are right there in front
yeah.
of you and wagging their finger.
If your skirt is see through, back room, if you're wearing I don't know, just something that's too revealing, it's like you're in trouble. Or even if you just talk to someone who's inactive, maybe they're on top of you. But then when you need them, to give you that comfort, whether it's marital problems or they're not there.
They're not.
They're not there. And I myself did shepherding calls, and when my CO visit was in town, he put them on blast because they weren't giving comfort to the sheep.
Hey,
And
at least he was calling them out on,
at least, yeah, like you got to give him props for that. But
yeah,
then again, that's his job, I guess. So it's like maybe he doesn't really care, but he has to say it. Because
yeah.
maybe he was getting complaints too.
I guess maybe the COs in our area just didn't care. That I don't think they really. I don't know, because like there were times we'd gotten my second ex and we'd gotten some shepherding calls, but
Mhm.
they didn't
Uh,
really give they didn't really give a shit.
yeah, I don't know.
They
It's
just
like I don't care about you.
Yeah, it was like they were there because they had to be,
Yeah, just to show
like
fit, like like
obligation. Yeah.
that's sad. That's what it is. It's just sad. It's and the Holy Spirit is supposed to be something that is supposed to basically make all the decisions, not only for you but for them as well.
Right, right.
And it's supposed to take the lead. And the fact that they're already automatically categorizing you based off of your past, that you're worldly, it goes to show that if you had determination to be a witness and to do the good stuff, the Holy Spirit should reveal that to them.
Mhm.
But if it's not, it's because it's not there, and if it's not there,
Right.
it's not the truth.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, they definitely treated people who came in from the world differently than people who were born in. There's a big difference between how those ones are treated.
that's kind of what I wanted to ask you because I was born in, and I've with the experience I have with their conditional love, I thought about that. I'm like, I wonder how they treat people who are just coming in, and that's kind of the reason why I asked when I do my interviews, I ask that question: Were you born in,
Hmm.
and were you raised? Because because of that, because there are you can get treated differently,
Yeah.
especially if you're coming in late, and you're
Yeah.
coming in at 19 years old, so you already experienced drugs, sex, money, cars. Like they're thinking that's what you care about
According
the
to them,
most.
I really didn't, but according to them, they would believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. And again, that's where the Holy Spirit comes in. Like if you really want to be a witness and you want to do everything the good way, and it's the same issue that I had with being repentant with before you're disfellowshipped. Like,
Hmm.
why do I have to tell three men that I'm repentant? The very fact that I'm sitting in my bedroom before the judicial committee saying or feeling that I feel bad for what I did. I'm basically repenting right there and then. I'm talking
Yeah.
to Jehovah and I'm telling him, I feel bad or whatever. You're already repenting. There's no point to you seeing the brothers to confess your sin. You already confessed. There's no point to it.
Hmm.
Did you get in trouble at all when you were a witness? Was there anything? I
Of
mean, you know,
course.
okay, yes, yes.
I used to be worldly. No. Well, the ways that I got in trouble, when I was with my first ex, he got really abusive. He did. And like just pretty bad stuff. Like there was one time we were arguing and he came like storming up and he put his hand up to my throat like this, like he was going to choke me.
Wow.
And he didn't, but it was the threat. It was the threat to get me to shut up and
Hmm.
back under his control. And blocking doorways. There was even a time where he was like punching himself. And another time, and this might get a little graphic, so
That's fine.
forewarning, but there was another time, we were like 6 months married, and I woke up from dead sleep. I woke up and my rear end was in the air, and he was behind me and trying to do stuff and rub himself on me, and I woke
Hmm.
up like that, and I was like,
Wow.
yeah, and I did not know how to like,
React.
yeah, and like, what do I do with that?
Hmm.
Um, and there were things that I found on his laptop, um, that involves animals.
Oh man. Before we continue, he's a witness, correct?
Yeah, well, he wasn't. He
Was.
he. I think I don't remember if he was baptized at that time. He might have been when
Okay.
I found that. I think he might have been. I don't know,
Okay.
but it's been a while. It's been a long time, but yeah,
Wow.
I found that stuff on his laptop under the search history.
Hmm.
So that was wild.
Literally.
Literally.
Right? Exactly. Awesome.
Yeah. So that was that was really unsettling to find that.
Yeah.
And I even asked him. I was like, "What are you doing? This is gross. This is gross. What are you doing?" And he said, I know, and I need to stop, especially because I'm starting to enjoy it."
Oh man.
Yeah,
But then he goes and practices it on you. Like, I don't. Okay.
yeah, just crazy stuff. The yeah, that animal stuff was out over the top. That was like
Yeah.
just
Right.
that was over the top.
And go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, and there was another time, my daughter was in her high chair, and it was the kind of high chair that clips to the table, and but it's like really sturdy on there, but the
Right.
table itself had a wobble to it a little bit. It was what we could afford at the time. And he got angry about something, and he slammed the chair into the table, and she was in the high chair, and the table wobbled, and I was like terrified,
Right.
that how hard he slammed the chair into the table with her there.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. And these are things you kept to yourself. You didn't tell the brothers.
I did
Well,
eventually.
right. Mm-hmm.
His family, and I mean his family is in his immediate family, like his mother, father, and brothers. They also celebrated holidays, and they weren't supposed to, obviously, but they did. So like birthdays, they would give presents, and they would call it, um, oh, it's MJ's day. They didn't say MJ's birthday. They would say it's MJ's day. And I even had birthday cards from them where it was like the happy birthday part on the birthday card.
And they
They
were
would they would
scratched.
put stickers over it. His mom put stickers over the happy birthday part. And yeah,
Wow.
it's like, why are you doing that? Just call
Just
it a birthday
yeah, you're already you're
at
in
that
too deep
point.
already.
Right. And so I
Wow.
saved I saved all of those, and I told the elders that, yeah, they were celebrating birthdays and blah blah blah, and I gave them all of these cards that they'd given me, and I provided evidence, and I told them this was at the same time that I told them about all the abuse and stuff too. I just let it all out, baby. I let it all out.
Good for you.
And they did nothing. They went over to, I had heard that they went and did a shepherding call to his parents about apostasy, because of the
Apostasy.
birthdays, because of the celebrating holiday stuff. And
They're always so quick to judge
I
you
know,
based off
and
apostasy.
I know, but then that was it. They didn't have any sort of reprimanding that I was aware of, because that whole family were all born, they were like generational
Oh
born-ins.
wow. So they should have
Yeah.
known better. Yeah.
So they knew better. I mean, his
Mm-hmm.
mom was a born-in, her mom was a born-in, and so it was like they all knew better, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird,
Just gotta laugh.
yeah, just gotta laugh now, but
And I'm
yeah,
assuming did that family like tell you like, bro, like what's up with you? Like why you rat us out?
they hated me. They
Yeah, of
did.
course.
They did
Mm-hmm.
hate me, for telling. I also told them there was a picture I saw. They had celebrated Christmas one year because they didn't want their boys, so my ex and his brothers, to miss out on feeling like they were celebrating Christmas, like at school, going to school, and
Yeah,
and getting presents and everything. They didn't
right.
want their kids to feel like they were missing out.
Makes
And
sense. I was the same way. Yeah.
and and so they celebrated one year to give them that experience. But, as witnesses, that
So no.
they know, they knew better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kept it hush hush. So,
I was the same way. I wanted my son to enjoy um being part of the group. Like I didn't want him to feel left out. My wife's gonna be annoyed when I say this, but me and her used to. Well, we didn't even argue, but she would tell me like, "Why are you letting your son's mom like have him participate in this stuff like Halloween?" He would dress up every year, and I would just allow it. And I deep down, I was agreeing with my son's mom. Like I want him to I want him to feel like he's a part of it. Like I don't want him to feel
mhm,
left out. And now, obviously, my wife is out the same as me, and we look back at those days, and it's like it actually made sense. Like the fact that witnesses are pushing pagan holidays, like everything
mhm.
is pagan.
I
Weddings are
know.
pagan, anniversaries are pagan. Like
Right? Wedding rings are
wedding
are
ring.
pagan.
This
Like
means I own my wife. Like this right here. Like they don't realize that this means ownership, and nowadays it's painted as it's just you guys
It's just a
are in love.
signifier like, "Hey, I'm taken."
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But
the root is of it is that you
mm,
own your freaking wife. And
right.
I don't remember if back then, I think it wasn't rings before, it was like earrings, I think.
Some cultures have bracelets
Oh, okay.
and
True.
other various jewelry stuff. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. I
I
there
learned that not that long ago. I was like, "What? Oh, cool."
yeah,
That's
everything
pretty
was so
neat.
weird back then.
Yeah.
And speaking of earrings and everything, like even that scripture, and I believe it's in Ezekiel or in Exodus. It's probably Exodus because it had to do with the Israelites. Where you're not allowed to do tattoos or have earrings. But see, back then, that was about not being like those back then that would worship false gods and everything. They would do their tattoos and piercings based off of those traditions. And the Israelites were just told, don't do that. Don't be like them. But see, nowadays, people are getting tattoos and piercings not for those reasons. It's just for
Mhm.
yourself, just to feel good. I
Self-expression.
got earrings.
Yeah, I got some and I got multiples. They're up here and you can't really see in
And
my
the
hair, but yeah.
I used to say, and I still say, like, the Bible doesn't say, hey, it's not where no women or no men can wear earrings. It doesn't say, it doesn't specify gender. So if you're gonna base your beliefs off of that one scripture that says no piercings, then you also got to say women can't wear piercings because women wear earrings all the time.
Right.
So what makes men not wearing earrings such a bad thing?
Right.
Or I'm sorry,
I
what
agree.
makes men wearing earrings such a bad thing
Oh,
if
yeah,
women
I
can
knew
do
what
it?
you meant. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I forget where we were at with this topic, where we were going, but yeah, I get what you're coming from with that, and when it comes to traditions about your kids and whatever, I get it. Now, when you said your family pushed you away because of that.
Yeah, mostly like my mother. Uh it was mostly her.
Yeah, and she's feeding
Yeah.
into everybody's head, and you're such a bad person. Now,
Yeah.
when it came to the elders, when you wanted to confront elders over certain matters, what was it that, how did, you mentioned earlier when we were off air that you got in trouble. Um, yeah, want to explain that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell myself a little bit, but it's part of my story. I'm gonna own it. I did get with my first ex-husband's cousin.
Oh,
I
okay.
know. I'm a bad girl. I'm a bad girl. Those days are behind me. Those were dark days. They're
Listen,
behind
you're
me.
just human.
I know. But he is now my ex. Uh my second ex-husband. So I was with him and married him after I finally divorced ex number 1, and that took a while. Divorcing ex number 1, it was a huge battle. That was traumatic court,
Mm,
and um I I actually, because of all of the stress throughout my whole life, untreated anxiety and depression, I lost my gallbladder when I was 26 because of the stress. It killed my
oh wow.
gallbladder. The doctor said it was at 37% functioning and going down. And
Wow.
and if it had stayed in my body, it would have released toxins that could have killed me.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, let's get that out. so, so I had that removed. Uh,
Didn't even know that
and
was a thing.
yeah, well, stress does a lot to the body. I deal with fibromyalgia now too, which is very difficult to um, live with.
Yeah, yeah, you just can't really do much.
Yeah.
And that's, you get all those bumps. Is that basically?
No.
I mean, you get pain inside. I forget what it was.
I get widespread muscle aches and
Yes,
pain.
there you go.
I mean, it ties in with anxiety and depression. It
Hmm.
ties in with digestive issues. There's a lot of things it ties into. It's actually a really hard thing to get diagnosed with. technically I'm not diagnosed, but my sister is, and I know a bunch of other people that have fibro, and I have like the same exact stuff as them, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've got it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you get overworked or overstressed, you flare out. You get like these flare ups with like the muscles. There's times where when I get these flare ups where I wake up and I it hurts to just move in bed. It hurts to get
Uh-huh.
up, and I have to have like an Epsom salt bath. My husband will have to like rub me down with some essential oils and just all kinds of self care. Um, Thankfully, I try to keep pretty low key, low stress, so I don't have as much for flare ups now. I have a very healthy environment nowadays, so I'm able to keep it pretty well in check. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and so how is your journey now? You know,
Oh, it's great. It's great. I've got a wonderful man, not my second ex. My second ex,
right.
I also divorced. I actually left my second ex at the beginning of the pandemic, which I left the cult at the same time. I just cut them both off, just done. I was done with him. I was done with religion, and he was abusive too. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like in some ways, X number one was worse, and in other ways, X number two was worse with abuse. So kind of like two different in two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I pandemic made it so easy to leave the cult though
A lot of
because
people say that.
it made it so easy. It was like a nice easy slide out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people say it's because too, where not only did they just not have to go to the meetings physically, but a lot there was that time. I don't know if it was maybe 2 months before they introduced Zoom that there was no meetings, no nothing,
Hmm.
and a lot of people got to dig into the Bible more and read things and realize, wow, you know what? This isn't biblically accurate. This doesn't back up the Bible. Like it doesn't make sense. And a lot of people left because of that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people woke up because of the pandemic. And
Yeah, and
yeah, at that point for me, I was already pretty much waking up or awakened. It was such a slow, gradual process for me that it's hard to pinpoint where exactly I like woke up. But I did have a s- sort of a start to that gradual process a
mhm.
number of years before the pandemic, and then the pandemic just like, you know what, this is going to make it really easy for me to leave. I might as well just, I'm already divorcing this one. I need to just, leave this religious bullshit behind. I was just done.
And that's how you faded, correct?
Yeah, that's how I faded out. And I haven't had any contact with like elders or nothing since. They haven't reached out to me or anything. They don't have my
Wow.
phone number. I blocked them from my email. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are a lot of witnesses that have plans and strategies on how to leave.
Yeah, and I really feel for the PMOs because they are suffering every day, and having to put on this fake mask, to try to fit in and not lose their family, and that's hard. and
Hmm.
and then to try to maybe figure out an exit strategy, that's really hard too. So I
Yeah.
really feel for them.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's very hard, especially if they're young and or if they have family all you born in, you have your entire family, your entire community, and you lose all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And if people don't have preemie friends like yours, then it's gonna be even harder. You're all
Yeah,
alone.
and that's
And
really hard and rare to find. I am, like, lucky that I even have that one PME friend that is like that, that still talks to me every day. We text every day, so
and she's not judgmental, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And do you have any tattoos or anything that
I don't have tattoos. I've always kind of wanted to get one, but then I'm like, but I don't know what. So I'm like, so I just don't
Okay.
have any right now.
Do you
It's
think
just,
she's gonna do you think if you do get a tattoo, she's gonna be very she might be like, okay, you know you're not supposed to, or do you think she's just gonna brush it off, not say nothing?
I think she would probably be like, it looks really cool. Something
Oh,
like that.
really?
I,
Okay.
I think she would probably be like something like that. Oh, that's really cool. Or, but like
Hmm.
maybe like it's not for me kind of a thing, but you do you sort of
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you
Yeah.
just do you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you and your immediate family, the ones you live
hmm
with, how are you guys progressing now that you're gone?
So my current husband, husband number 3, I know it's a lot, I know,
No,
but
that's
it's
fine.
third time's the charm, I swear, because
Listen,
this one, like, he practically worships me. He is so good to me all the time. His mom, like, has literally said he does everything for me, and I'm like, I know, and he's so good. He's so
that's
good.
awesome.
I looked for red flags. I looked hard. I looked up and down, back and forth, sideways. I looked everywhere for red flags in this man. I found nothing but green. And I was like, okay, I was not wanting to get married, but he wanted to be a husband so bad and a dad. And he's
Mhm.
so good to my daughter. He looks at her at like his own daughter, and he calls her his daughter. And
That's awesome.
he likes to call himself bonus dad, not stepdad. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Didn't hear
So
that before.
he yeah, so it's really
That's
good. He's
awesome.
he's never been
MJ's in
JW.
love.
I know. And he's worldly. So he's a worldly husband.
Shame on you.
And we're having a little enemy of God.
That is amazing. Make sure you take pictures when he's born or he or she
Yeah.
and send it straight to Bethel and have Stephen
Right.
let send you a letter
It's
back.
our little enemy of God.
Yes. Oh man, I was saying the same thing when my son was born.
We can talk a little more about my childhood because there's a lot of that stuff that plays into how I got suckered into JW, how I got so emotionally vulnerable. And, I was already traumatized before I had even met anybody JW.
Hmm.
So, like,
Yeah.
I, I'll just kind of go through, and then if there's anything you have a question on, so I'll just kind of give you the rundown list real quick.
Say whatever you like to say.
Okay, so mother and stepfather aside, I mentioned them. That's a rabbit hole. Um, so when I was 7, I was kidnapped by a stranger, and so there's that.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and then when I was 14, I was sexually assaulted by a 37-year-old man. And then when I was 20, so I was with my ex, my daughter's dad. My brother-in-law was murdered. So
Oh
that
wow.
was, yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then, of course, there's also and obviously this is out of my childhood, but ex number 1 was abusive. There's a lot that's entailed with that. And ex number 2 was very abusive as well. Lots entailed with that. So, and then going back to my teen years, the 4 years I was supposed to be in high school, I wasn't. My mother did not allow me to go to high school. So that really set me back socially. I which there's still a little residue sometimes with that social interaction. I've worked really, really hard on that though throughout my 20s. I worked on myself really hard to be able to socialize better and communicate better and comprehend things better. Because I uh, struggle sometimes with comprehending certain things, or when people say certain things a certain way, uh, I don't understand what they're saying. Once I do understand, I get it.
Hmm.
But like for example, we could watch a movie and there's like a little bit of a complex plot, but it's for most people it's easier to understand. For me, not as much. I have to pause and my husband will explain some things, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand now, and then I can play again.
Hmm.
So just some comprehension issues like that. It's gotten a lot better. Um, but there's just a lot of things like that. Like during those 4 years, extremely lonely. I had no friends, no nothing. I spent a lot of time in my room alone. Um, I had hobbies. I had my dogs, and that was about it. Um,
Yeah.
I cried myself to sleep a lot at night. I had movies to watch, which some of them I watched so often that the characters felt like my friends, like they were my friends, and they were the only friends that I had.
Hmm.
And I, that was a hard thing to tell my husband because he just felt so horrible for me. When I told him that, one of my favorite movies during that time was Shawshank Redemption, because I related to, being this innocent person stuck in prison. And that's how I felt. I was stuck in this prison with um in my room, and with because of my mother. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you resonated, and it was a sense of escape and knowing you're not the only
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's pretty difficult, and
yeah.
not living not having a childhood that you could be proud of is extremely difficult. And did you find yourself, if you would relive that past, did it break you, or are you in a position now where you're like you can talk about it openly and be okay, like you're
Well, I'm
doing now?
talking now about it.
Like you're doing now, exactly like you're doing now.
I think it made me, but it took a lot of years and a lot of tears. And
Mm.
it took a lot of working through fears too.
Hmm.
So,
Oh,
that, like I said, that whole, even just the not going to high school bit, there's a lot of um, things that you learn socially in high school that set you up for adulthood that I didn't get. And so by the time I reached to 19, and meeting my ex and getting involved with JW, um, that was a that made me real easy. Just that alone made it real easy to take advantage of me, because I didn't understand things. My mom did not teach me anything about abuse, red flags, what to look for, what manipulation is, what gaslighting is. None of that. She didn't teach me any of that. She wanted the control for herself. And
hmm.
she hated my ex because she recognized he was a controlling person too, and she only
She
didn't want to lose the control over me,
right. She didn't
no
want
one
to
else.
share you.
Right. She didn't want to lose the control she had over me.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Wow.
so I went from one controlling person to the next to the next. Um yeah, until I educated myself on a lot of stuff. You
Wow.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
I find it so odd that you said she could be that she's a born again Christian, yet she is doing all these things. And I mean, born again Christian can mean a lot of things. It could be she got baptized. Was she baptized too?
She always said she was baptized by water and by Holy Spirit. Like two different baptisms.
I mean, to me, it's supposed to be just one thing,
Yeah, I don't know.
a combination.
Yeah, she took us to so many different churches when we were little, growing up, so many different churches. And when it came time for like, around Easter and everything, they did pass around like the crackers and
One.
they would do grape juice. They did grape juice and like little crackers, like goldfish crackers and
Wait,
stuff.
these were at churches like that you went to?
Yeah, worldly churches. So not
Okay.
JW, but yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So they did things differently. So I did grow up with eating those and drinking the juice and eating the crackers. I did grow
Welch.
up with that.
Was it Welch's brand? Welch's grape
Probably.
juice.
And the funny thing is my dad was a truck driver for a long time for Welch's because we had a
Oh,
Welch's plant here over here and yeah, yeah. So he did
okay.
a lot of delivering for Welch's.
There
And
you
so
go.
yeah, there was they did use Welch's grape juice though.
High probability. Yeah. Wow. And you don't remember the denomination that that church was?
They were in just generally Christian, I guess Christian churches, just
Hmm.
all different kinds, because mom bounced us around a lot. She bounced us around, um, because there were she's funny because it was like she would find a church, we'd get established there, and then over time she would hear something a pastor would say or whatever that she disagreed with, and oh no, we can't go there anymore. I don't agree with this teaching or that teaching or whatever. So we're gonna go and find another church. We're gonna go and try this one and repeat over and over again our whole
Wow.
lives. That's how it went.
Did she try and enroll you in some Sunday school or some public religious like class or anything like that?
So a lot of the churches I went to, they did have like Sunday school. So when I was younger, we went to like downstairs, and there was like a thing for kids. They would have some time where you would sit with your parents first, and then they would dismiss you for the kids' Sunday school, and then you'd go down, and all the kids would leave and go down for Sunday school for the rest of the time. And but there was when we moved back here to the town that I'm in now, my mom did also sign me up for private school for my 8th grade year.
Hmm.
So, and that was a Christian private school. So I went there and I hated it. It was miserable. I did not fit in at all. Um, again, everything felt fake, like fake smiles, fake happy, like everybody was just fake.
Hmm.
And it didn't feel right. And so I hated it there. And so I
Yeah.
stopped going there. And then that's when my mom was like, well, I don't want you going to public high school because I don't want you getting into gangs and drugs and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff my sister got into. My sister is 7 years older, so quite a bit of a distance there, but she didn't want me to get into the same stuff. And so
Hmm.
that's why she was like, I don't want you to go to public school. So it's either this private school or homeschool. So I was like, I don't want that private school. I'll try homeschooling because I didn't know what she had in mind for homeschooling. I know there's homeschooling programs now, but she got me these Christian homeschooling workbooks and basically
Hmm.
said, "Here you go." And that was it. That was
Yep. Just take it and do something with it.
pretty much.
Fix your life.
She didn't teach me or nothing. I did those workbooks. So I did 9th grade. And then I did like part of 10th, and I just kind of like quit because I was so depressed. And
Hmm.
I didn't have anything. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have any friends, nothing.
Wow.
When we had moved back here for that before I went into that private school for a year, I had friends at my old town that we had moved from. I had friends that I'd hang out with and go do stuff with, but then we moved back here, and and then she got me into that private school. Yeah,
And it was just
and then the
complete opposite.
yeah, and then the homeschool, and it was just like, yeah, my
Yeah.
life just kind of went dead.
And you would think that being a witness, you're getting a better life in a sense where you're staying away from the drugs and all that stuff. You would think she'd be
Yeah.
happy,
And
right?
I never got into that stuff to begin with. I actually never even wanted to. I never had the desire to get into um the drugs, and I didn't even at the time I didn't even want weed. Now I like it, but I mean not now during the pregnancy, but like when I'm not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pregnant, yeah, I like it, but um but it helps me with things, but even at that time as a teenager, I didn't even want to get into weed.
Mm.
And I did, I was bad, but
You just laugh. It's funny.
I did drink. So like during those 4 years when I was not in high school, I did drink. My mom would give me a glass of wine, but then she didn't know that I would go and I would sneak some more later, or my mom and my stepdad would get like Mike's Hard Lemonades, and I would like I would
Chug
like
that,
drink
right?
those. I would take them back into my room. I had a TV, and I would just booze and watch TV. I was 14, 15 years old, boozing it up in my
That
room,
sounds
watching
fun.
TV. Right? Yeah, I mean, hey, it was a coping mechanism.
So, as a child, I know you said your parents were separated. I'm assuming you were a lot more scared from by your mom than your father. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you knew mom was coming around the corner, like, oh, I should hide this stuff or whatever. But if your dad would come around, you would just be okay about it. Like you would
And
just,
even more so than my mom, my stepdad. My stepdad
and your step.
was scary. He was scarier than mom. He because mom, even when my stepdad would like come at us, and I mean like verbally, he never beat us or anything, but my mom would still kind of try to step in and mediate. Um because she was kind of caught in the middle, but she would try to mediate things and get him to calm down.
Mhm.
But yeah, so my stepdad, it was more hiding stuff from him. There was an element of hiding stuff from mom too. Don't get me wrong, there was definitely that, but stepdad was worse.
Mm, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, at least you got the that head honcho, scary, strong look
yeah,
to him, and
yeah.
your mom wasn't so because a lot of narcissistic wives would try to control their husbands too and make
Hmm.
and diminish them.
Yeah.
But it looks like she actually respected your stepdad.
She
And
did, yeah, yeah. And I'll say this as a description of my stepdad. He looked like Mr. Clean. Like he had the shaved shaved head, tall, broad, and sometimes a goatee. He didn't have the earring though, but and
I
he
forget
he
about the
really
earring.
didn't do a whole lot of the cleaning either
Okay.
for looking like him. It was kind of funny, um,
Okay.
but yeah, so he like this really tall, broad bald man that yelled, and he had a booming voice too, and so like that's pretty scary as a kid, to
Mm.
live with. And it was like walking on eggshells. And my brother and I, it was funny too, because when my stepdad would walk, he had this kind of a click to his ankle. And
Oh yeah.
so like we would if my brother and I were doing something we shouldn't be doing,
You knew.
we would listen, we would hear him like walking and hear that click, and then we're like, oh shit, like and then like go and
Right.
hide.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's too much. I did you feel like your mom had favoritism between you and your sister
And my brother,
and your brother?
yeah, it's funny because that is a thing with narcissism. But my mother worked it differently, because my sister was primarily, she was the scapegoat. Hands down, my sister was primarily used as a scapegoat. My brother was primarily the golden child. I was primarily the forgotten, lost child, just kind of
Hmm.
there in the background, just kind of,
Yeah.
forgotten about.
Like that of your
But
sister, yeah.
yeah, but there were some things that rotated. So, like sometimes I would be a scapegoat. Sometimes, rarely my brother was ever a scapegoat. Uh, there were times that my mother would put the golden child thing on my sister, sometimes on me. But for the most part, those roles belong to, like the scapegoat with my sister, the forgotten lost child was me, and the golden child was my brother. So my brother, he as much as he was treated like the golden child, he does not act like it. I know a lot of golden childs, they get entitled and they, work it to their advantage and become these awful people. My brother's not that way at all, and I'm really glad for that. I love my brother. He never let it go to his head. He is like, the type to let things roll off his back, and
Hmm.
very level-headed, very logical, and reasonable. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. And obviously you don't talk to them now.
Well, I don't talk to my sister. I talk to my brother. He's great. I keep in contact with him. But I am low contact with my dad, and I am no contact with my sister. She was toxic to me my whole life, and I kind of became her scapegoat. Um,
Hmm.
so like she was scapegoated on because of mom, and then she kind of took that and put it on me for her own self. And there was a lot of control stuff there with my sister too, because she's 7 years older than me, so she took on kind of a little bit of a maternal role over me, and so there was control. Not only did she have the control influence because of our mother, but my mother had kicked her out at like 14, and so my sister went and lived with our aunt, who's not my mom's sister, but actually she's my dad's cousin. But she went to live with our aunt. We just call her our aunt.
Right. Yeah.
Um, she went to live with her, and that aunt is really controlling
Oh man.
and aggressive and very domineering. And so I think she got that influence
Right. Hmm.
really hammered in from both of them together. And then it just made it worse for me as far as a relationship with my sister, because there's a lot of the toxic. She was a bully, my sister, and I just don't want to deal with that anymore. I'm done with
Yeah.
toxic people anymore. I'm done. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff there too.
That's interesting because normally being in the organization plays a huge role in how families would ignore you, how people would treat you.
Mhm.
But that's just how they were.
Yeah.
That's just the levels of toxicity that they carried with them, and and way they treated you was just very obvious that it was just how they carried themselves.
Mhm.
That's sad. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is. Now, one thing about JW that I it's gonna sound funny, it's gonna sound off, maybe even wrong. Some people might get mad about me saying this, but hold on, just hear what I have to say.
Okay.
One thing I am kind of like grateful for as far as the disfellowshipping arrangement is like I don't agree with it. I really don't. But at the same time, it taught me the resilience of being able to cut off toxic people and having no contact with toxic people and no problem with going no contact with anybody who's harmful for me.
Right.
And so being able to cut people off, just no problem, and to just be okay with it, if you use it right, you cut out toxic people.
Yeah.
It's actually an asset. It's kind of a kind of a nice thing to have, but just use it right.
Right.
Obviously,
Exactly.
JWs don't use it right. They don't do it for the right reasons. And I
Yeah.
I do believe in, like, if someone is toxic for you and abusive to you, and there's no other way around it, and you've tried different things and nothing works, and you are at a point where you need to save your own mental health and even your physical health, because that ties in with your body. um you can do that,
Yeah.
and I've been able to do it plenty of times. I've had to cut off people that were bad for me, and I
Hmm.
no regrets.
No, that's a good way of looking at it because that's technically what the witnesses want to do it that way, but they're more on the Old Testament side of things,
They are.
and
Yeah.
they're not. They don't really go by Jesus and the Apostle Paul and how he carried or how he described his fellowshipping. And his viewpoint was yes to cleanse the congregation, which makes sense. You want to cleanse it from impurity. You want to cleanse it from from evil, from anything detestable and
Mhm.
gross, right? And that was the point. You want to stay away from people who do those things and who damage you, damage not only you but also the congregation, and damaging could be from how they affect you emotionally, how they affect you physically, and you want to stay away from those type of people, toxic people, narcissistic people. That's a good thing. You want to stay away
Right.
from that.
Right.
But the whole point is love is what cures everything. So
Right. I
you
still
don't
love
want to
my
shun
sister. I
people.
just gotta love her from over there.
Right. And who knows? If you ignore people, eventually they're gonna ignore you too. And then, but if you show love, like that also can heal somebody. That can change somebody.
Yeah.
Shunning people and giving them the silent treatment is not a
Right.
good way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That wasn't the Apostle Paul's point.
Right.
And a lot of witnesses love to stick to their first letter of the Corinthians, and they don't read the
Yeah,
second
they don't
letter.
read the second. I know, right? Oh, I got
Yeah,
I got little hairs flying around. That's one of our cats. He's so if you see like woo like a white hair,
yeah.
that's one of our cats. Sorry,
That's what I used to.
cats
So
can't
no,
hear
that's okay. Don't
it.
worry. That's what I used to say. I used to say I agree with discipline, 100%.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, we have to discipline our children when they misbehave and
and it's
they're
how you
it's
discipline and
exactly
yeah, yeah,
you will discipline your child, but when you discipline him, do you stop feeding him? Do you stop waking him up to bring him to school and ask how his day was? You do those things, but
right,
you don't just, hey, you're sitting in that corner and I'm never gonna talk to you ever again until that's the problem. It's
right, and
always
that's
until.
horrible. And that's where it's so conditional and and then the kid feels like, well, you don't love me because
Yeah.
you're not showing me love now. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
confusing. That's really confusing.
Yeah, and then it's hypocritical because then you will talk to them if it means you have to.
Right.
And that's where it's so twisted. And a lot of
Yeah.
people will do that, like in say funerals. They'll talk to you in a funeral, but not even then, because just yesterday, someone posted in this group that I'm in that they just found out their brother died 2 weeks ago, and it's like in those cases, at least try
That's
and reach
sad.
out, but not even
Oh,
then they do that,
yeah.
and that's where the shunning. I don't think this fellowshipping and shunning should go together.
No, absolutely not.
They should be completely separate, and
Yep.
even shunning should not even be a thing.
Right.
And people don't realize that being a Jehovah's Witness, Jehovah shunned the Israelites. Jesus used to say, "My Father is greater than I." And if Jehovah's so much greater than him, why did he shun the Israelites? That's when critical thinking comes in.
Right, right.
I did that a lot. I did you ever feel like you had to just critically analyze that aspect? I don't want to touch into your spiritual journey
Oh,
now.
no,
You
it's
can
okay.
if you want to. You can if you want to. Please feel free if you want to. But did you ever think about that? Did you like why are witnesses shunning people? Why do they do this? Why do they do that? I thought God is supposed to be so loving, so why aren't we loving? Like, did you ever think that?
I did think about, as far as like God being loving, I thought there were a lot of things that didn't sit right with me as far as in the Bible about like all the genocides and um like well they talk about God being so loving, but then he and that murder is wrong, and then and then he goes and kills all these people
Exactly.
all the time, and then talking about destruction and all of this and like Armageddon just all this horrible stuff. But then out the other side of their mouth, they're saying God is love, and it just didn't sit right with me. That it didn't mesh. It didn't. There was no cohesion to it for me, and so yeah, that got me questioning. Like, well, I don't want to worship a God that you know can do something like that and call it love. That's not love. It's
Mhm.
not loving. And so that kind of like was part of my gradual process. Now, as far as my gradual process, the start of it, I had a spiritual experience of my own that I cannot explain. Like nothing could ever explain it to me. I know what I experienced, and it was uh indescribable. I mean, I painted what I saw. So it is one of my paintings. Um, but I don't have to go into detail about it. But it did like change things. It started me on the path of waking up
Mhm.
because it was almost like an experience that was where a spiritual experience with that was trying to wake me up. I felt very dead end and it just life was just stagnant, dead end. And I went to bed one night and it was like all of a sudden I was above the earth and this did not feel anything like a dream. It did not feel anything like a dream. When I came out of it, it felt everything like a memory of something that actually happened. Anyway, I went to bed one night and I was suddenly above the earth and I was looking down at the earth and the earth was like purples and blacks and kind of like a filter, kind of like if you were to have night vision, everything is like in greens, grays, and blacks. It was
Mhm.
like that, like a filter. The earth was purple and black, and then there were these golden lights shooting up off of the earth, and those were all light workers. I instantly knew those are all light workers on the earth. And this spirit being came up to me from the right side, and it was like it looked like this humanoid shaped ectoplasm of stars. This thing was made of stars. It was a being. It was humanoid shaped and it was made of stars. It bright,
Like a galaxy
very
man.
beautiful. Very yeah, it was beautiful though. And it told me things about myself and you might think it's hella weird, but and this is partly why I'm wanting to tell my story. I think they want me to tell my story. Um, it told me that I'm a guardian of the earth and that I'm here to help and heal people, and I do that through tarot and various other things. Sometimes I do it just talking to people,
Hmm.
and when I was a cocktail waitress, I actually had people opening up to me about their problems and just randomly. And then I happened to have like the right thing to say in the moment that helped them, that gave them some perspective and some help and or some comfort in some way. And these are strangers. And so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what it told me though. And then it was like it was trying to shake me awake um, out of this stagnant dead end of my life and trying to get me back on the path that I'm supposed to be on. And so when I woke up, I was like, whoa, what was that? That
What
was
just
not
happened?
a dream. That was not a dream.
Hold
What
up.
just happened?
Yeah.
So years later, though, I did some research on it, and this was after I left the cult. I did some research on things, and it was an astral projection, is what it's called.
Hmm.
I didn't induce myself to that. Some people can. I did not. They pulled me in to tell me this stuff. Again, to try to wake me up.
That is something else, man.
Yeah. And my dreams have always been insane, very vivid, not just the nightmares. although those two, but just in general, dreams, like
Hmm.
crazy, man.
Yeah, the dreams, that dreams do play a role. I sometimes think they're just more than dreams. Like it, the things that we go through, the things that we see in our dreams, it means has to mean
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I've had some past life visions come through where it was like that didn't feel like just a dream. That was like a memory.
Right.
And yeah, so I've had stuff like that too. But then that one felt different than the astral projection too. So it was like that feels different and then that feels different and then there's dreams over here that are way like normal dreams that are way different than either of those. So it's
Um, there was something I wanted to ask, and I can't think of it right now, but maybe it'll come to me. So, what do you guys do to keep busy? What are your hobbies
um
now?
lately because of the pregnancy, it's been a lot of like movies and shows because of the nausea. The nausea has been more motion based. So like if I got up and walked around, I would
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was not food or smells with this one. With my daughter it was all about foods and smells, but this one motion. So I was like living on the couch or living in bed.
sometimes I feel like I'm pregnant. Okay. There's just no way. It doesn't make sense.
You have the belly to prove it.
Heck yeah. My kids too. Sometimes I mess around and I stick it out as far as I can and I have them rub on it and it's like and I'll do a little bump on my belly. Like I'll do a quick like
Make it
pulse,
jump a little.
make it jump a little bit and they're like, "Oh my God, Daddy's pregnant." And I have fun with it a lot. And it gives me an excuse to have a belly
That's so
because
funny. Yeah.
and I get nauseous a lot. I don't know what it is. I just drinking water, I get nauseous. Like I don't know what it is.
Hey, with this, if I eat too much, and I don't even eat as much as I used to, but like if I eat just a little too much, I start gagging. I'm like,
Hmm.
I want to pig out. I love food.
What are your cravings? Are they weird?
Um, Nothing weird, really.
Okay.
I did talk about a couple weeks ago. I said to my husband, I was like, hey, what if you had pizza but it had a waffle crust?
Int-
And I was like, does that sound like a pregnant thing to say? He's like, yeah, that sounds like a pregnant thing to say. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I mean, I had that. It kind of like
that's
popped into my head, and and I thought about how it would taste, and it sounded like it might taste kind of okay.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's like pizza bagels, you know.
You can do a lot of things with pizza.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. You can make cauliflower pizza,
Mhm.
which I've made.
Yeah.
I've made bread out of cream cheese once,
Hmm.
and it's called fathead dough. You make dough
Oh,
out of cream cheese and butter and almond flour,
that
and then you
sounds
just
yummy.
put it in the microwave or in the oven, and you make bread.
Huh,
You make pizza out of it. Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting.
I it's more like with the cravings, it's like I crave the actual like an actual dish, something Asian. I really want something Asian, but the cravings like they fly fast. And so I'm like as
Hmm.
by the time we get the ingredients, grocery shopping and make the thing, I'm like moving on to the next thing that I want to eat. And so I'm trying to like hold on to that previous craving just so we're not wasting this food that we fought for the previous craving.
That is funny.
Yeah,
Um, so w- could you say you're living a much better life since you've left the organization?
absolutely. My depression and anxiety are pretty much gone. Um, or extremely well managed. I don't even take my antidepressants or anti-anxiety anymore. Um, there's a lot of various other things that I do that help, but even those aside, just being in a healthier environment around positive, non-toxic people helps
Hmm.
tremendously. Um,
Yeah.
it's a game changer.
So since that time, have you felt like any type of calling after that?
Yeah, I do. I got into caregiving for a little while, and I enjoyed that. It was hard work for not the greatest pay.
Mm,
But it was rewarding work. Um, helping people, helping elderly, and taking care of them, and then from there, even as a cocktail waitress, like I mentioned, I had strangers opening up to me and talk to me about their problems, and I happen to have the right thing to say or the right experience of my own to relate, and that how I handled this or that, and helped them or brought them comfort in some way. um,
mhm.
I even had some strangers say that I had a white light about me, so I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
And maybe they're right.
But
Like,
yeah, I mean, even with my jobs now, my bad guy job, I'm an HOA compliance, but
mhm.
it's actually a fun job. I like it. I call it my bad guy job, and then my face painting job is my good guy job, and that one's really fun. I get to make people happy with face paintings, and I get
Yeah,
paid
that's
really well
awesome.
for it. Yeah,
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 let's talk about that. So
yeah.
you are now out of the organization. You and your husband dabble in different things, and
hmm
you're into face painting. And so how's that going for you?
It's good. I love it. My boss, both bosses at my HOA job and my face painting job, they're amazing. They spoil the heck out of me, and I love them. um, I with the face painting job, I get to like work with art. I love art, and it's always been a fun and therapeutic thing for me. And so I get to work with art and children. I love children,
Hmm.
and I get to make people happy. It's fun. And then I get to make people mad. All the rich people. I get to make them mad up in the rich people up in the hills.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then if they come to any events that I'm face painting at, and I get to make them happy again. So, but they have no
Oh,
idea I'm one and the same person. I make them mad one week, and then
that's part of the that. That's okay.
yeah, yeah,
That happens.
yeah.
Um, so you guys are doing something together, you and your husband.
Yeah, so my husband, he's an artist as well, and he's also got some books out. He's a writer, and we actually have our own poetry book that we collaborated on together a few years ago, and it's on Amazon. It's
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Danger and Madness,
Nice.
spelled with two D's.
Two D's, guys.
Two
Two
D's
D's.
because it's a play on our names. Daniel Gerber, Maddie Jones. Yeah. And these are each full-size paintings hanging up in our home. So we have that available on Amazon for $10. And
Okay.
we're really proud of that book. It's actually sold internationally. It's already got 5 stars. We would like to sell more. It would be great if we
Yeah,
could
I
sell
mean,
more.
I can
But
share that right now.
yeah, so
We were talking backstage, guys, so that's how I know about it.
yeah.
So here's the
So
book.
I wrote some of my poems in here are from my teenage years, and my husband as well. There's it's like halvesies, his poems and halvesies mine. And we did write a few poems together as
Oh, you
well.
have a
So
hundred poems.
yeah. And then so we have that, and we like to help people with our artwork and writing. And as far as artwork goes, we do have an online art shop as well.
Okay.
And that is paintmisbehavin.threadless.com. And when you write out paint misbehavin, leave off the G. There's no G there. It's paintmisbehavin.threadless.com.
Okie
Um,
doke.
and that will have like a whole bunch of our artwork, and there's merchandise like prints. You can get prints of our artwork. There's some canvases, t-shirts, mugs,
Cool.
tapestries, like a whole bunch of different stuff. And there's like so many different colors for t-shirts, different styles for each of them. Like there's a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. And my paint misbehaving thing, I was doing furniture refinishing, but with the fibromyalgia, it's a little much. It's kind of harsh on the muscles, and um so I've had to step back from that and started focusing more on the artwork, the painted artworks that we have
Hmm.
instead, and trying to go more that route.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've had people comment about my paintings being inspiring, and that's always nice. If you go there, if you look at the one on the very right at the top, that's the one of my experience that I
You're okay. Yes, I was
yeah,
about to say.
that's the one. And
Wow, I
I
like how
named
you
it
dropped that.
yeah,
Okay.
I named it OBE because out of body experience.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of people say like it's like you said, it doesn't feel like a dream. It
Hmm.
feels like a vision, but
Yeah.
you're also not with your own body, like you're
Right.
somewhere else.
Yeah. If you click it, you can enlarge it if you want to see it closer.
Okay.
And then there's the image thing up there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and okay, yeah, okay. You
Yeah.
got different
And
colored shirts.
honestly, the painting it does not do it justice with what I saw. That's like the
You're
best that
never
I
gonna
could do.
get it 100% accurate.
It was so vibrant and so bright and shining. Everything was so amazing.
Yeah.
In that experience, it was crazy. But there's my Cathusa one. I did if you go down just a little bit, there you go. The
Oh,
tentacles one.
yep.
Yeah, I named it Cathusa because it's like she's like Medusa, but Cthulhu at the same time because she's got tentacle hair.
Okay.
So yeah, you can kind of see her up in the corner there, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
so the tentacles are like coming out from her head. So that's what's up with that. I named it Cathusa.
Interesting. Interesting name. I like that. I was intrigued by this one right here too. Like
Oh,
this
head
is
hands.
yeah.
Yeah, my husband did that. He gets these kooky ideas. It's so funny. He cracks me up. So that image of that guy laughing, that was a stock image that my husband drew. He drew it
Hmm.
out, but he added hands to the guy. And
Wow.
so that the whole thing my husband did sketch,
Hmm.
but it's based off of a stock photo that he found that was like the perfect stock photo for what he was wanting to do. It just we just joked about having, oh, what if somebody had hands
Fans all over
all
it.
over their head like that.
I like how you put here. Have you ever had a terrible idea of drawing something you probably shouldn't? Well, we did, and we created it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what it does. It says it brings you joy. It does. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, look how happy he is. He's got hands on his head. He's so
yeah.
happy.
You want to know something? It kind of reminds me of Spy Kids, that movie Spy Kids.
Oh, the thumb thumbs.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, right? I'm totally reminded me of that too, like the thumb thumbs. Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah, so funny. Yeah, I
Um,
love head hands.
that's
We have
awesome.
that hanging up in our hallway.
I got that would I can imagine your house full of like
Yeah,
just a bunch of frames and
all of
stuff
our
like that.
artwork, it's all hanging up, and people love we're not even done like renovating our house or anything, but people are always
Hmm.
like, "Oh, your house is so cool." I'm like, "Thanks, it's not done." It's nowhere near what we're wanting it to look like.
I can resonate with that because
Yeah.
I feel that. Oh, you got your little about me section,
Yeah, we have a shout out for our book on under the about on the page.
and
So,
you can find you guys on
you can
Facebook.
click the if you click the book, that'll take you to the Amazon link to
Okay,
yeah, to that. So,
cool.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, oh, yep, and that was everything. Amazon, Facebook. Oh, the Facebook page. You guys
Oh, it's linked on there. It's linked through the
Yeah, so
website.
when you click on the little F, a little Facebook logo, it'll lead you to their Facebook. I'll showcase that real fast just so
Okay.
people can realize what it actually looks like.
And again, you
And
know, it used to be furniture refinishing. So you'll see my furniture refinishing work on there under some of the stuff. So that is on there under past stuff, but
okay.
um, which
Yeah, I
I
see that.
I kind of miss doing. I liked doing furniture refinishing, but it's a lot of hard work on the muscles.
Hmm.
It's too straining for fibro.
I get that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
understandable. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I got to show that for you.
Thank you. I
Show you,
appreciate
show
it.
everyone your business, basically.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
fun stuff.
I'm glad that you guys are keeping busy and keeping busy together.
Yeah,
Um, and uh, I mean, other than that, I mean, I think we pretty much touched on everything.
pretty much. Yeah.
If there's anything that you wanna like mention that you might have forgotten, you can. And um, hey, you can even come back on the show whenever you want. Just let me know. And
Thanks.
maybe next time, if you do decide to come on, we can do it live and maybe have people like ask you questions and stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that'd be interesting.
I know you mentioned you're a little shy. Don't worry, because I'm shy too.
Yeah.
It took me a month, maybe two, to decide to do my first interview because I was like, no, I can't. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to carry myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I feel you. I understand that.
Well, if you're interested in philosophy, my husband has that philosophy book that's out. He's working on another one too.
Okay,
Um, but
awesome.
I can pass you along that link
Yeah,
for his book. Actually, you could even just look it up real quick if you wanted.
yeah.
It's super easy to find,
Okay,
but it's just called it. Now the title
let's
is a
do that
little
right now.
deceiving. Yeah, the title is a little deceiving. It's called True Faith, and then by Daniel Gerber. But it goes into like the building blocks for developing your own faith.
Okay,
And so it's not a preachy, like, you have to believe this or that kind of a thing. It's not like that at all.
okay.
I really liked it. It's a really great book. He made that book before we were even friends. He made that book in an effort to help people to find their own path for
Mm,
their religious beliefs, whatever it may be, whatever
that's
you
awesome.
want it to be. He did that to kind of help people figure out what they want.
Hmm.
He is well versed in many different religions. He researched a lot of different religions. He read the whole Bible, I think several times. And he's read like, gosh, a whole bunch, like the Baha'i. He's researched them. He's looked into like a whole bunch
Wow,
of different things, like deep research, to make that book. So
wow.
there's a whole bunch of different thises and that's, yeah. And
Wow, you guys are really made for each other, huh?
yeah, yeah, he's so smart. He's really, really smart.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
And that's
I'm
also his own artwork too.
nice. He's
Yeah,
very creative.
he
That's
is.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure when he comes up, does he could just come up to you and be like, "You gotta check this out. I've come up with this idea." Do you just guys just laugh and do you like encourage him to continue? Like it just
Oh
must be
yeah,
so funny.
we bounce off each other all the time, dude. We're like, we'll come, so we also play D&D.
Okay.
And he's got an undergrad in theater, and so he's got like
Wow.
characters. He's got characters
Hmm.
up in here and voices. He does like some voice acting kind of stuff with, you know, all these characters. And we'll like bounce off like funny scenarios and stories off each other, jokes, and like, oh my god, what if this and what if that. And um like I've got a gnome character that I play, and I made a hat for it and everything. And
Hmm.
we just have so much fun, just bouncing jokes off. That's how Head Hands came about, was, you know, jokes. Like I think he came up to me and like, what if somebody had hands on their head? And I was like, what? You know, explain that to me. What do you mean? And he's like,
Hmm.
hands, like on their head all around. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's a sunflower. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh man. See
Yeah.
that see I now I'm thinking of things like you know how when you're with your boyfriend or girlfriend and or you're thinking about somebody that you like very much and you're just picking the flowers and like he likes me not.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I was thinking about fingers coming off the hands
That's
and just
so funny.
it's so weird,
So
but it's like what I came up with.
actually, I do have some artwork I can show you in our room here. There's
Okay.
that up there is actually the skeleton one
Mm-hmm.
is it's like half our face and half skeleton on the outside that he did with ink. And
Ooh.
then the smaller one there is a hand with the I love you ASL sign.
Okay.
And that one is also kind of bisected, so you see like muscles and tissue and bone. And then the one next to that, these are all different ink.
Okay.
Yeah, ink artwork.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the dragonfly there that has iridescent ink, so like when you move, it shines and shimmers a different way.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we kind of got going on there.
It's like it's holographic, I guess, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know, paint terms.
I
So,
know. I keep like wanting to call them inkings. I don't want to call them paintings because it's not paint,
inkings does
but
sound pretty
inking.
catchy.
I
That
guess
does,
ink. It's an inking.
I don't know.
Ink.
It does sound
Ink.
kind of catchy.
Ink
I mean,
art.
yeah.
I don't know, but
I mean,
he did a fantastic job. It looks just like us, and with the
mhm.
human side. What he did was he took a picture, and then he had it printed up, but like huge on like a big poster we had to get at Office Depot, and then he cut it out and had to kind of like piece it together a bit and
Yeah.
to get it the shapes right and everything, and then he just kind of like glanced and looked over and inked it. And
Ha has he ever had dreams and then wakes up and is like, okay, I gotta draw this before I forget? Has he ever had those moments? Like he dreams, because you know dreams are weird sometimes.
um I don't think he has. He comes up with the stuff when he's awake.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Because there is somebody that does that, and they make movies. What's his name? Oh my gosh, he does scary. Oh, M Night Shyamalan. I can't say his
Oh,
last
M.
name.
Night Shyamalan. I think
Shyamalan.
it's
Yeah,
Shyamalan.
he
Yeah.
does that. Like he'll dream about something, and then he'll just make a movie out of it.
Nice.
So yeah,
Well, Stephen King, I heard some of his stories were
Stephen King. That's the next one I
from
was gonna say.
yeah, yeah, with his books. Some of them are from dreams that he's had,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, really cool. That's a lot of times with artists that is how things happen is through dreams or like something that just pops into their head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's like this connection that we're supposed to have that is beyond our imagination through dreams.
Mhm.
And I feel the same way when I look at babies when they're just laying there and they're like staring and like bobbling their head and staring at
They see
something.
things that adults don't,
Yeah, and they're
and animals too.
yes, and the fact that they know when it's gonna rain or a storm is coming,
Yep.
and I feel like because babies aren't they can't really hold information long enough the way we can as adults. I feel like those are things that some higher power or God or whatever allows them to have
Right. Right.
because it's like it's supposed to be all a secret. So because the babies are gonna forget, it's okay. Just let them see whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And the same with animals; they can't talk, so
Yeah.
might as well just let them see whatever.
Heck,
You know.
I see my cats, they'll like just stare at nothing. Or they'll just be like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what are you doing? There's nothing there. And, or they'll start playing like with nothing
Hmm.
and chasing and just like, and it's not even normal zoomies that like that's different, but they're just like swatting at nothing and they do stuff. They play with things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That they're very funny. I would love
they
to have a cat,
are.
but I can't. I'm allergic.
Aw, oh, that sucks.
I
I
was
love my cats. They're Master, our big black kitty. He is my baby. He is
yeah.
my baby. Our other cat, Azatoth, he's white. He's Daniel's cat, and he's he's a miscreant, that one.
I was gonna surprise my wife with a kitten, but just a couple of weeks ago I went to a friend's house and he's got cats and I was dying. Like
Oh,
it was bad. Like
man.
I had to take a picture of myself just so my wife could believe me because my eyes were so it was bad. I had poofy eyes, but then on one side of my face I had bumps everywhere.
Oh,
And then
no.
I was just crying, like tears were just coming down.
I
Like it
will
was so
say,
bad.
so that Pee friend of mine, she wants a cat, but she has the same problem, allergies, but she's looked into it. There's some cats that are, for lack of a better word, hypoallergenic, where they
Hmm.
don't put off those things. Yeah, I want to say, gosh, what cat was it? I want to say it was a Bengal, maybe. I don't know.
Mm.
But there's certain breeds that you may be able to tolerate. You'd
It's
have to look
weird.
into it, yeah.
Because when
But
I
yeah.
grew up with a cat, like my
Oh,
favorite kitten, like I watched her
yeah.
grow from baby and everything.
Oh,
We had to sell her, but like I was fine. My sister has a cat, and if I do go over there, it's like I'm fine. So I don't
right,
know. It's just
right.
like I guess it's true. It's like there's some cats that throw off those toxins that make you feel
Yeah.
that make you react.
Yeah. You could look into it. It might be worth looking into.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was a great show.
Yeah, it was great.
I think I'll end it here, and I want to say thank you for joining and for having I I say this in Spanish, but it's called the cojones or the balls to
The
tell me
balls.
everything. To just tell me everything, everything that you went through, all your experiences, your journey now. And I guess I'll end it with if there is something that you can tell PMOs right now that are thinking about exiting the cult, any advice that you would give them, and anything that you can say to say what life is like now outside of it.
Honestly, I would say first of all, just stay strong. Stay strong. That's like numero uno right now. But also, if you feel like people are going to cut you off for you wanting to be happy in your life, it's going to hurt, but it's worth it
Mm,
because you will feel right within yourself. And when you feel right within yourself and in your own life, there's nothing like it. It feels so much healthier. You will feel like a weight is lifted off.
mhm,
Even if it's hard at first and you go through that pain, you you just keep going, and it gets better. It gets a lot better. I know a lot of people say that, but it really does.
mhm.
Um, and when you keep living your happy, keep finding your happy, keep it going,
Yeah,
and it's a hard thing to go through, but like if I can do it with my shitty ass life, like anybody can do it.
and
Anybody.
nobody's life is shitty. It's just
Ugh.
everyone goes through different things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, before we get off, I forgot I was gonna say something about how you were saying that you have an ex number one, ex number two in a marriage, and that's the life you lived, and you may feel like you're crappy about it, but listen, as a witness, you get married very early, and then you keep getting married, and then you don't have enough time to date and to really see the person for who they are.
That's true. I
So it's
With
like
those
understandable.
2, we just dove in.
Right.
With both of those relationships was just diving in. With my worldly husband, we had a friendship, an established friendship for a few years before we even started dating. And that made a huge difference for
Right.
one. And two, the fact that he's not JW was also
Makes it so much
a
better.
huge difference because he doesn't have this misogynistic
Judgmental
uh
way, yeah.
outlook, yeah, towards women. And like he's very equal, like he clean this man cleans after himself. He cleans after himself because he was a longtime bachelor. He learned to take care of himself. He cooks. Half the time I'm like, can I cook something in the kitchen? I do like cooking, but I like the break though too. It's
Yeah,
nice. It's so nice. It is so nice to not have that expectation thrust on me every day. And
I feel. And now that you're pregnant,
he takes really good care.
that's
Takes really
good.
good care. Yeah. And he never yells, he never name calls, none of that. I've never had that anything like that
Yeah.
before,
And even if that does happen, as long as you guys can come together and work it out. A lot
Yep.
of people just give up that first instance, like, oh my God, he's been so amazing this entire time. And all of a sudden, he's treating me this way.
Oh, yeah, no.
What do I do now? Like, I might as
That's
well
usually
just
there's
give up.
something happened and he needs to talk, or
Exactly.
I need to talk, or
And we're still
something like that.
imperfect people. Things can
Yep.
happen. There are powers in the world that we struggle with. Ephesians 4:12 says that there are evil spirits that we are fighting constantly against. So things can happen. Anything can happen.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, if you want to feel free, email me any more details that you think you might have left out. If you want to continue this conversation
Or if there's
and
any segments that people want me to go further into
mhm,
with, detail, like my marriages with the exes, how I was abused there, or
right,
I know sometimes people are curious about the story of my kidnapping, how that happened, um, and how I got out of that.
right.
Uh, and so, things like that. I'd be happy to come back on and discuss more details on those things.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's yeah, that's exactly why I was emphasizing you should come on again and explain
Yeah.
those things. Because we're 2 hours and 20
I
minutes
know,
in
I
now,
know.
and that just goes to show that your story is awesome. There's so much details that
I told
should
you it's a long story. There's a lot, a lot
that's
of rabbit
completely
holes,
okay.
a lot of rabbit holes.
That's completely okay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, though. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad that I can be, a platform for people to voice
Yes,
their
it's so
experiences.
important. There's so many stories out there and so many people that need to tell their stories and need to be
Hmm.
heard and have important things to say.
Yeah,
So I think it's really awesome what you're doing. I think
thank you.
that's just awesome, completely amazing, and
Appreciate it. Yep.
I hope you keep it going too.
I'll keep it going. It's gonna keep evolving. I'm still new to it, and I, I'll I'll evolve myself because there are things that I'm sure once I go through this video in itself, the editing is gonna be horrible for me because I'm gonna be looking at every little thing that I did or didn't do, maybe the little quirks of my body, the little ticks that I have or whatever. It's gonna bother the hell out of
Hey,
me.
I'm gonna have that when you post it. I'm gonna be like, why did I move that way? Why did I do that?
Yeah, but see, I'm evolving a little bit more because my first interview I said so many times. The
Yeah.
second one I eliminated it a little bit. I don't think I said too much in this one, but I'm
I feel like I
sure.
said a lot of.
Yeah, I have been trying. I'm trying to study etiquette, just the way I carry myself and how I use my vocabulary. I'm learning.
I think you
So,
did
is
amazing
one of
though.
them.
I think you did amazing though because you're authentic and people like authentic. They like
Hmm.
genuine. A lot of times people respond most to authenticity than they do to something that's plastic and,
I feel you.
perfect.
I feel you.
Yeah. So just keep being your authentic self and
I've heard that a
keep that
lot.
going. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maddie, for joining on.
Thank you.
Also known as MJ,
MJ, yeah.
the other
Thanks,
MJ.
MJ.
Yeah. Thank you once again. And once again, you guys check her out. She is on Facebook and she has her own books. Her and her husband Daniel. And she has a little business as well. I'll definitely make sure to put all this information in the description, and so you guys don't miss out. And once again, thank you for joining. This is MJ in Context. Remember to take care, stay safe, and remember you can't make any of this stuff up. That's all I had to say. Thank you, Maddie. Thank
Thanks.
you for joining.
Thank you.
Take care now.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.